Thank you for joining me, Mark Whitehead, Joan, Michael, and the rest of the worship team here at Crescent Fort Rouge United Church in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We gather at the geographical center of Canada, on the traditional lands of the Cree, Oji-Cree, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Lakota, and Dene peoples. We gather in the heart of the homeland of the Red River Métis. We gather at that place where two rivers, the Red and the Assiniboine, meet. That's been a meeting place for people from many nations for many, many generations. And we gather at this meeting place, this thin place, this liminal space, where the holy in us recognizes and embraces the holy in others.
Earth is a sanctuary, a sacred planet filled with the presentness of God, a home for us to share with our kin.
So be still now and feel the presence of God, the presence pulsing through earth. Be still and feel the pulse of God.
Be still and hear the Spirit of God, the Spirit breathing through the earth. Be still and hear the breath of God.
Be still and behold the glory of God, the glory filling this earth. Be still and behold the face of God. Truly, the Spirit of Christ is here among us, within us, around us, and between us, to strengthen us, to encourage us, and to empower us.
We light this candle as a sign of the Spirit's presence and a symbol of our belief that the light of Christ shines in us, the Spirit of Christ flows through us, and that in all our diversity, we are a rainbow people, a community of faith in God's subversive kingdom. let us come together in response of prayer. Creating God, we celebrate your refreshing presence among us and our kin in creation.
May our spirits be lifted to rejoice with this vibrant world.
May it be so.
Amen. Now, as the choir is making their way down to sit in the congregation, I'd like the kids and those who'd like to join them to come forward now. Now, some of you were here last week, and we heard a story that some of Canada's first peoples tell about a great flood and a rebirth of the earth. Well, I have another flood story to tell you this morning. Now, I don't know if it happened exactly the way I'm going to tell you, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So the story goes. Once upon a time, and this was a really, really long time ago, there was a man named Noah. And Noah was a good person. He tried to live the way God wanted, tried to be kind to the people around him, tried to take good care of the animals and the birds and the land. But sometimes Noah felt like he was the only person who cared about the animals or the birds or the land or the people, because all the people around him, well, only cared about themselves. They were mean to each other and hurt each other and said hurtful things to each other. They killed the birds and the animals and the fish for sport, not for food. And they only cared about what they could get from the land and not what they could do for the land. And Noah knew that if you live that way, sooner or later, there's going to be trouble. Well, Noah was pretty sure that the trouble was going to be really big trouble. That the earth was so broken that there's going to be some kind of a disaster. And Noah, who kind of knew how things worked, looked at the sky and he looked at the sea and he smelt the air and he's pretty sure there was going to be a flood. And one night Noah had a dream. And in the dream, it was like God was talking to Noah and said, Noah, bad times are coming. And I know you can't do everything, but you can do something. So I want you to do what you can to save the animals. Now, Noah woke up because how can I save all the animals? I'm just one person. But then Noah got thinking, well, if there's going to be a flood, it probably means all of the rivers and lakes are going to overflow their banks, so I should build a boat. But if I'm going to try and save animals, I'm going to have to build a really, really big boat. And so Noah and Noah's family started to build a big boat, which they called an ark. And all of Noah's neighbors and his family thought he was crazy. What are you doing, Noah? Why are you building such a big boat in your backyard? We live in a desert, Noah. Noah said, there's a flood. I know there's going to be a flood, and I'm building a boat to save, well, maybe not all of the animals, but at least one mom animal and one dad animal of every kind, so that when they have babies, there will be some animals again. Now, Noah was kind of lucky. He didn't have to try and make room for dinosaurs, because the dinosaurs had died a long, long, long time before that, because an asteroid had hit the earth and changed the climate, and they couldn't survive. But Noah was determined to make sure that this time, even though things were bad, at least some of the animals would survive. Well, the people really thought Noah was crazy. Now, not only was he building a huge boat in his backyard, now he was collecting 2 of every kind of animal. So 2 dogs weren't bad, and 2 cats weren't bad, and 2 guinea pigs weren't bad, but 2 elephants and 2 giraffes and 2 lions and 2 leopards, that was getting a little much. So the neighbors started to laugh at him. And then it started to rain. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained some more, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and the rivers and the streams and the lakes started overflowing their banks until soon water covered the whole face of the earth. And it was just Noah and Noah's family and 2 of every kind of animal that were floating on top. Now, when it started to rain and the water started to get high, some people started knocking on the boat and tried to get Noah to let them in, but it was too late, because the pressure of the water against the door of the ark meant it was stuck. And even if Noah could open it up, if he opened up the door, then the water would come in and it would flood the boat and it would drown all of them. Well, it took a long time for the waters to go down. A very, very long time. And Noah and Noah's family and all of the animals are really, really tired of being in this boat. But one day, the boat touched down on land. And Noah and his family waited a little longer, and they sent out a bird, and a bird came back with a green branch in its beak. So that meant the trees were back, and if the trees were back, it probably meant there was dry land. And so Noah and his family very carefully opened the door of the boat. And they looked out, and it was like the world was brand new. The grass was green, and the sun was shining, and there were birds singing, and there were trees again. And Noah and his family let the animals go. And just as they did that, they looked in the sky, and they saw a rainbow. All of the colors of a prism. And they saw the rainbow, and they thought of everything that had happened. And Noah thought about how God had come to Noah in a dream and encouraged him to do what he could do. And Noah knew that even if things looked really, really bad, God would always be with him and with all people and with all animals and with the earth itself. Joan, I'll get you to help me. So on our table, we've got all of the colors of the rainbow. And each of those colors can suggest something about God's good creation. So the rainbow helps us to remember the sign of God's promise, the diversity built into the very fabric of creation, and all the colors of our lives and of our creativity and our hope.
Green is the color of earth after the rain. Let it be for us a sign of growth and new life.
And yellow is the color of harvest corn. Let it be for us a sign of sufficiency and sharing.
Red is the color of wild berries. Let it be for us a sign of suffering and courage.
Well, orange is the color of pumpkin and spices and squash. Let it be for us the sign of gift and rejoicing.
Blue is the color of the sky above us and the sea around us. Let it be for us a symbol of power and peace.
Violet is the color of the small flowers that cling to mountain rocks. Let it be for us a sign of kindness and care.
Purple is the color of the night just before dawn. Let it be for us a sign of our longing and of our hope.
And let's sing together our next song, Like a Rock. We turn our attention now to the scriptures, and we begin, our reading today comes from near the end of the book book of Revelation, an apocalyptic piece of literature. It's really just about the account of somebody's dream. Joan?
I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth had disappeared, and so had the sea. Then I saw New Jerusalem, the holy city, coming down from God in heaven. It was like a bride dressed in her wedding dress and ready to meet her husband. I heard a loud voice shout from the throne, "God's home is now with the people. God will live with them, and they will be God's own. Yes, God will make a home among the people. God will wipe away tears from their eyes, and there will be no more death, suffering, crying, or pain. These things of the past are gone forever." Then the one sitting on the throne said, "I am making everything new. Write down what I have said. My words are true and can be trusted." Let us hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Amen.
Now, we're going to move bits and pieces around a little bit this morning, because in the later part of the service, we are going to be going outside to dedicate our peace pole. But given the fact that it keeps raining and stopping raining and stuff, we're going to do as much as we can in here, and then we're going to go outside for the very end. So just keep your seatbelts fastened and take my lead. Now, the book of Revelation is one of those books in the Bible that we've all heard of and almost never wanted to read. It's kind of scary, because we're moving out of the world of, well, straight up storytelling into the world of dreams, the world of fantasy, the world of horror. And so it doesn't necessarily make a lot of narrative sense, but it makes a lot of emotional sense. So the background is a little sketchy, like it is for most biblical books. But the consensus seems to be that this guy named John, who was an early Christian, found himself exiled to a desert island. His faith community had been persecuted. He arrived as an almost broken person. His faith and his dreams and hopes for a future for the way of Jesus lying tattered and torn. The power of imperial Rome to impose its will on everyone and everything seemed insurmountable, and the way of peace and justice and wholeness and kindness and enough for all promised by Jesus seemed like just a pipe dream. And the Christians John had left behind, and John himself, were pretty much on the edge of despair. What did it all mean if it wasn't going to come to anything? And then in his island wasteland, John began to have a series of dreams, or perhaps visions, of how things might be, or maybe importantly, would be. Because when you lay aside all the special effects contained in the book of Revelation, it's pretty simple. It's a mythic battle between the forces of good and evil, and good triumphs. And the way of God prevails. And those who are faithful to that dream of justice and hope and wholeness and love and compassion and abundance for all people and equity and is rewarded. Only the faithful aren't lifted up out of a broken earth to heaven above. Heaven descends to the earth. And heaven isn't in some otherworldly place, but here among us. John's dream was the dream of Jesus and the dream of us all. That in the face of adversity and hatred and loving and unlovingness, there is another way, the way of Jesus and the way of peace. This year, we're inviting you all to dare to dream. To dare to dream God's dream of a future where there is a place of belonging for all and enough for all, and kindness and compassion shown to and embraced by all. And there are days it seems like a pipe dream for sure, right? And yet, even though we can't do everything, we can do something. And it's that thing that we and only we can do that begins to transform the world and our lives. Noah couldn't save every animal, but Noah could save a few. We can't solve every problem that our world is facing or that the people around us are having to cope with. But we can do something. You know what that something is when it rises up and hits you in the face. You know what that something is when you get that burning sensation in your heart that has nothing to do with what you had for dinner and everything to do with what's wrong and what you think can make right. I'm not going to tell you what you should do because you already know it. Seek the justice God is calling you to and make the peace that is yours to make. Extend the peace that is yours to share. And dream the dream that God has given to you, the dream of God's future. Amen. Invite you to join now in the singing of hymn number 713, I See a New Heaven. The words will appear on the screen.
I see a new
so, we find ourselves called to follow in the way of Jesus, to take up the path of discipleship. May we let justice roll down like a river.
Justice roll down like the sea.
May we let justice roll down like a river.
May you let justice roll down, begin through you.
May I let justice begin through me.
Justice for all who go hungry, crying to God to be fed, left in a world full of abundance to beg for a morsel of bread. Justice for those who are homeless, victims of warfare or need, trapped on the borders of nowhere, lost in the canyons of greed.
Justice for all who are powerless, yearning for freedom in vain, plundered, robbed of their birthright, silently bearing their pain. In a world filled with violence and war, we gather this morning to celebrate the promise of peace. In a world filled with tyranny and oppression, we come together to celebrate the promise of peace and justice for all. In a world filled with hunger and greed, we come together to work together to celebrate the promise of plenty for all. Our hope is in the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer of heaven and earth. We seek that new order, but there is courage to speak truth to power, mutual support in church and in community, abundant time for healing, and peace and freedom for all. And Joan, I'm going to ask you if you want to read the next section.
Okay. This morning, as a first phase and centerpiece of a new peace garden, we will be dedicating the peace pole. A peace pole is an internationally recognized symbol of the hopes and dreams of the entire human family, standing vigil in silent prayer for peace on earth. Each peace pole bears the message, "May peace prevail on earth," in different languages on each of its six sides. There are estimated over 250,000 peace poles in every country in the world dedicated as monuments to peace. Planting a peace pole is a way of bringing people together to inspire, awaken, and uplift the human consciousness the world over. It is a wonderful project for any community, organization, or your home. Peace poles are now recognized as the most prominent international symbol and monument to peace. They remind us to think, speak, and act in the spirit of peace and harmony, and stand as a silent visual for peace to prevail on earth.
And one of the persons who helped make this a reality is Barb Masterman. I'm going to ask Barb to come forward and share some of the history of this project with us now. Barb?
When my husband Dave and I were in Maui several years ago, I saw a peace pole positioned near the beach where many people walked past it every day. The pole was a simple white 4x4 with the words, "May peace prevail on earth" in English and in several other languages. It touched me greatly, creating a hopeful feeling in the knowledge that others feel the need for peace in the world. In February of 2020, I made a presentation here at church asking if we as a church could have our own peace pole. Then COVID hit and the idea went on the back burner. This spring, Mark asked me to look into things again. I found a company that makes sturdy cedar poles with long-lasting plaques. Mark and Ian then chose the various languages that best represent our neighborhood, and we were ready to turn the dream into a reality. But where to put it? Well, a tree had been taken down in the little kind of neglected corner this spring, and it looked like it needed something. So our little area was chosen for the peace pole. The CFR gardeners and several other people have been very supportive and full of ideas. We've discussed various ways that this area could be developed to make it a place of quiet reflection and meditation for our church family and for the community. Watch next spring for a lovely peace garden to rise from this forgotten corner. My heart is so full of gratitude that this day has come as we mark the annual International Day of Peace by this dedication ceremony. May peace prevail on earth.
Thank you, Barb. We're going to sing together, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and the words will appear on the screen. And then following that hymn, we're going to proceed outside. So if you have a coat or an umbrella, you might want to take that with you. If you prefer to stay inside, you can peek out the doors. We're going to keep the sound system going, so you should be able to hear. Let there be peace on earth.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. Children all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And let's proceed outside. Certainly. Thanks so much.